Hello, welcome, Cabbage here. In War of the Visions JP, let's go over the live stream from last night, from May 10th, and if you usually find me insufferable, I will be extra here, because I will be gloating about how my predictions were on the mark this time. There's going to be some vinegar in here too, so if you're sensitive, turn away. You've been warned. I did live blog the live stream. Thank you for following along with those. It's a nice live document, but it's also helpful as like notes that I can look back on as I make this video to remind myself of what I was feeling. But I guess we can go in the order of my predictions. First was the new costume, Gorasida. This is pretty much a lock. Last month they said that they would finally reveal her here. The question was her cost. I was expecting a cost 100 unit, but I didn't know if it was going to be her or somebody else. I talked about this in my Diablos Clear, but in that video I said I had a theory about Gorasida, that her alternate costume release was already planned for the 1.5 anniversary, and that the developers were surprised by the fan vote. And to explain the lateness with her unit coming like a year after the vote, it was the developers sticking to their original plan of the 1.5 anniversary and just making excuses in the meantime to stall. It's just a theory of mine. It's probably more likely that they just took a lot of time designing her look and her kit and then couldn't find good timing to release her into the meta. And I say this all the time, but units with their elements and jobs are not released in random order. There's the meta to consider, there's game balance to consider. A point we'll come back to when we talk about collaborations. On the global side, we got the artwork reveal for Zazan much sooner, which makes me think that he was not planned for a specific time at all. I think the obvious conclusion to draw is that Zazan will be released for the global 1.5 anniversary, but I'm not so sure. I wouldn't be surprised if he just showed up sometime before then, even. But then that brings us to the question, if not Zazan at global 1.5, then who? It's hard to say with the shuffling of the global schedule. It might be the EX jobs for winter units, it might be the summer swimsuit units, it might be nobody. But I'll tell you who it's not going to be. It's not going to be Gorasida. And of course, we're hearing global people say they hope Gorasida gets a global release. But why should global get her? Global users didn't vote for her. This is JP's special, unique thing. If folks really wanted Gorasida, the time to really get fired up for that was before the vote, not after. And so it's done. Let's not be sore losers. And then of course folks are angry at the Zazan voters, but they all seem to forget that Mont and El Shirel got more votes than Gorasida too. Why isn't anyone calling them out? I'll tell you who I'm angry at. It's the Mont voters, Global and JP. Of course, the handout main character unit was going to get a UR form. It's like these people have never played a mobile game before. Those were wasted votes in my opinion, and they could have gone to El Shirel or Gorasida and changed the outcome. Anyway, Dress Up Gorasida might come to Global someday, but it won't be anytime soon, I'm guessing. However, the developers for War of the Visions are always kinder and more generous than I am. I'm like, suck it up, grind it out, get good, learn to live without. But the developers are like, okay, we'll make this easier, we'll give you more of this stuff, etc., etc. Where I'm coming from is a history of playing mobile games for nearly a decade, where generally the developers are closed off, stingy, greedy, unforgiving, screw quality of life, screw bug fixes. Folks complain about the developers of War of the Visions being this or that, but I'm telling you, they are pretty amazing, and we should be thankful for what they do and what they give us. I'm like constantly surprised. They do so much and they give us so much. Like, I feel bad for the developers. Like, where's your pride? And that's not even taking into account how much better Global is than JP. With these developers in mind, there's one thing I could see happening, and that is that they release both Zazan and Gorasida to both JP and Global versions. It could be like a big, kumbaya, crossing borders, partnership gift thing from Global to JP and vice versa. I give this a 20% chance of happening. Again, the developers of War of the Visions have surprised me many times with their generosity and with going the extra mile, so that's why I don't give this a 1% chance of happening. Alright, but let's talk about the unit of Gorasuda, Fire Element, cost 100. Of course, we have people complaining about her element, but I'm glad the developers are putting higher priority on game balance than users' feelings. Fire didn't have a strong magic user, and now it gets one, so that's great. Swimsuit Kiton had like zero impact on the meta, and global players really aren't missing anything by not having her. And Ice would have been the wrong choice from a game balance point of view for Gorasuda. Next is cost 100, and there are some developments there. With Dress Up Gorasuda and all cost 100 units from now, their shards will be the standard price, so 250 Vision Ore for 5. For the love of all that is good and holy, finally! I've been saying from day one in JP I never like the idea of double price stuff. The game is expensive enough as it is, and slow building double price stuff just sucks. I came out fine Vision Ore wise on the cost 100 units I have built, because I only ever bought their discounted shards, but the time spent and the mind space spent just bleh. But I'm happy for the change, and now that I can allow myself to build one in a couple weeks, I could consider going after cost 100 units again. However, and this is a big deal personally, they said Gorasuda and future cost 100 units will have the lower pull rate, even on the release banner, so that will stop me from pulling for them since I refuse to pull for lower rate stuff. Although really, if I set my ceiling and stick to it, it's not that big of a difference. I do like 100 pulls, either I get her or I don't. It's the people that have no personal ceiling, especially with no in-game ceiling, those people I worry about. They can get really screwed, like with the Bahamut banner. But if I get the cost 100 units by accident, then I could start to work on them. I will not be pulling for Dress Up Gorasuda, but if I get her by accident in the free pulls they are giving out, I would strongly consider working on her. The idea of a mono-fire love triangle PvP team is too funny, and I'm thoroughly enjoying like my chaperone team and my mama and her boys team. And it actually might work out roles-wise. You have a tank in Megamont, and then 2 range-ish attackers, 1 physical in Christmas Mashiri, 1 magic in Dress Up Gorasuda, so it might work. And then talking about her jobs, she has a new main job that equips a mace, sub-jobs Scholar and White Mage. So a ranged magic attacker with maybe some support. In the livestream, they teased giving her a microphone as a weapon, like a dancer, which a lot of people wanted, but they ended up going for the mace. I like her outfit. It's similar or based on the first anniversary artwork, where the characters are marching in a line. So we might have some insight into future versions of Mont and Mashiri. And just like Umber Ray said, this will look good on the battlefield. I have to say that the swimsuit units just look really strange, especially with the bare feet. And Valentine Salia just looks wrong everywhere. But this Gorasuda will look great. Next, let's talk about the lack of a collaboration announcement, new or rerun. There's still a month left of Final Fantasy VII Remake, so they wouldn't cut out the knees from under it with a new collaboration announcement. And a lot of folks are saying that Tactics is due for a rerun, or must or should get a rerun, but none of that is true. Just like how unit elements should not be decided by the feelings of the users, neither should the timing of collaborations. And if you knew anything about mobile games, you would know that the timing of new collaborations and the return of old collaborations is wildly inconsistent and very hard to predict. There's the matter of like contracts and copyrights and all that, but also there's the game balance, there's the meta to consider. If you've been paying attention to the release schedule of EX jobs, they often follow 2 patterns. Old units get their EX jobs sometime after the release of the unit they would counter, like Federica after Tita, or old units get their EX jobs sometime after the release of a unit they are very similar to, like Warrior of Light after Mont. So let's think real quick about some collaborations that could come back. What if they had released EX Orlando before they had released Cloud? It would have hurt sales of Cloud. What if they had released Warrior of Light before they released Mont? It would have hurt sales of Mont. And what if they had released Valentine Salia before 2B? It would have hurt sales of 2B. So when we're considering timing of returning collaborations in particular, it would help if we took into consideration what is popular or powerful now in the meta. Is there anyone from old collaborations that can counter Cloud, for example? Not really. I'm thinking high/resist or Earth units. Kitufe is a better candidate for an EX job now than Kain or Delita or someone. Orlandu is a good alternative or chaining partner for Cloud, so that might make some sense for his release. But how about Tifa? Who would counter her? Agrius and her status effects? But Agrius doesn't have any strike resistance, so I don't think she would be a good counter, actually. Engelbert is the better counter to Tifa, who, surprise, got his EX job after Tifa's release. Maybe Dragoon Victora, maybe give her a Courage cancel, maybe give her a 100% hit jump. That might counter Tifa more effectively. And so, looking at the state of the meta, I don't see tactics coming right away, but there's always the possibility that they'll just do it anyway, and then all the units will just be slightly underwhelming. But yeah, my head is spinning from thinking about all of the possibilities here, trying to keep all of this stuff up in the air. I said before I would never want the job of managing the game balance of this game, but hopefully I got across the point that there's much more that goes into the rerun of a collaboration than just the order of when it was originally released. Alright, my next prediction was no new form and no sub-EX jobs, and that came true. And they actually went out of their way to say that cost 120 units, or something similar, are not coming for 2nd anniversary, which is terrific news. I'll go ahead and predict that they also won't do sub-EX jobs for 2nd anniversary. Once we get close to El Shirel and Garble getting EX jobs, then I'll consider it more likely to happen. But yeah, looking at all of these changes, I feel good about the future of the game. Probably the best I've felt this year. It's becoming easier to play, which is how all mobile games should go. It's becoming more generous with materials, which is how all games should go over time. And they took a big step back from raising the price of the game, which was one of my biggest concerns. The game lost a lot of people with the Mont Helena Dwayne streak, and some of those are lost forever. But these improvements will get back a few of those players, and then hopefully better keep the current players. Alright, and then my final prediction. Let's talk about new co-op or PvE mode. And this was actually more of a hope of mine than a prediction, but we got both. They will release the old raid battles. That'll be fun to kick the butt of those old bosses with our stronger accounts. And you can do that co-op or solo. Maybe I'll finally craft that platinum robe. I keep putting it off even though I have all the recipes. And then the new PvE mode is a new tower. 20 floors featuring bosses from Season 1 of the story. I hope they're very challenging, like the selection quests are for UR units. That would be fun. Okay, so that was my recap of the live stream. Very interesting stuff coming ahead. Alright, thanks for watching, and we'll see you again. Take care.